Creed 3. We may have a special guest joining us also on the show to join in the conversation. But Creed 3 is the third in the Creed saga, which is a continuation of the Rocky saga. And I think, have there been more Rocky / Creed movies than Star Wars movies? At this point, there might be.
Well, how many Rockies were there? If there were 6, then yes.
Yeah. So Creed 3 is the third film in the series, which pits Adonis Creed against his childhood friend, Dame, newly released from prison. He was in prison for 18 years over an incident that involved Adonis when he was a kid. He's out and pits the two of them, childhood friends, against each other, trying to resolve issues of the past. And will they resolve it in the ring? We'll see. I got a lot to say about this, but joining us is Dante James of Verbal Riot Show. Dante, how's it going, man?
Going great, man. Going great. Glad I can make it. Good
Awesome.
to see you boys.
Awesome. Well, we also, well, actually, you and I saw Creed 3 last night with our movie meetup group. Alan, you saw it earlier in the week.
Mm-hmm.
What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, the trailer kind of lays out the basic story. It's pretty simple. I mean, there are some twists, and we won't get into spoilers until maybe later in this conversation. You'll have ample warning about it. But I will say this. I think it's the best fight scenes of any of the Creed films. It was, I think it was very different. Some people were saying it was green screen with the crowd. It didn't look like it. If it was,
it looked like it to me. It looked like it
did.
To me.
Some of it maybe because they do some effects where like the crowd kind of goes away and they kind of focus. But I would say the best fight scenes of any of these films. So you have to give props to Michael B. Jordan because he.
Let me just say, this movie, I love this movie, but there's one major flaw, and it's in what you're talking about right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we'll get to it later, but
okay.
There's the big flaw in the movie.
Okay. First impressions. I really enjoyed it. Really loved it. Again, Jonathan Majors. I like to think of it as this is a Kang variant who's just fighting Creed.
Yeah. Killmonger, you say?
Yeah. Yeah. It's Killmonger versus Kang. That's what this movie should be. But no, I really enjoyed it. Mainly were a couple things, just the things that pop out to me. One, fight scenes were incredible.
Yeah.
An opponent that has this personal history that's, closer to Adonis than Drago. His relationship with his daughter who's deaf. I thought that was great. Mm-hmm. They're signing to each other and they did the subtitles. I thought that worked so well. Like, I thought that was great. And that was a great thing, was seeing Michael B. Jordan be a good father, hang out with his daughter. You don't see that in movies anymore.
Right.
Like, you never see that. And not only that, and some other people pointed this out. There's a lot of patriotic imagery. Like Adonis Creed is always sort of draping himself, like his dad, in patriotic, like American flag, boxers, all this stuff. There was a lot of that in there. There was like zero woke about it, at all. I thought it was really character driven, and it was driven. I think one of the best training montages of, definitely the Creed film, the training montage. I heard some people complaining the training montage went on too long. It's like, no, I liked it. It just went on.
Name a Rocky movie where there wasn't a training montage.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on.
They all have one, but some people were saying it was too long. It didn't bug me at all. I was like,
it wasn't that long though.
It's in context.
Are you kidding me?
Too.
Rocky 4 had 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly. This one has like one really good one, like right before the main, because there's really one big fight in the movie, obviously at the end. But You know what? Solid film, a lot of fun. Anything I would critique about it are nitpicks.
Yeah.
But
no, I have a big.
Okay, we'll save you for last, Dante.
But I will say one minor one. I'm sure Dante will agree that there wasn't enough discussion of Black oppression in this movie, and I kind of felt like it was missing. And
I mean, they didn't talk about reparations or nothing, man. What kind of movie was this?
I know. Yeah. and there was no. I mean, I was expecting more criticism of white people in this movie, and it just wasn't there. I don't know.
It disappointed on all those levels, man.
No, look, it's just like, it's just solid. Like it didn't like it.
Absolutely.
It it was just like, and also, Michael B. Jordan. Here's the thing: we were talking about this like after the screening. Why didn't they just make Michael B. Jordan Black Panther? Can you imagine how different Wakanda Forever would have been if Killmonger had some redemption arc? I mean, he kind of has a redemption arc, but it's like a one where it's like he almost has to become the Black Panther. It's sort of all up to him, and he's reluctant. He doesn't want to do it. It would have been. Do you imagine how different that movie would be, and how much more excited people would be about the MCU if Michael B. Jordan was just Black Panther? Like, why not?
You're expecting the MCU to make creative choices now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, that's what happens when you follow that trope of always killing the villain at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
You want them to make smart decisions now?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just like, look, I just think Michael B. Jordan is, one, very good actor. Two, he's one of the kind of actors that understands the craft. Obviously, he directed the film, so he understands filmmaking, knows he understands audience. He doesn't all make it about himself, right? Even though, yes, he's the lead, but like, I don't know. I think they just should have made him Black Panther. So whatever. But what did you think, Dante?
So look, man, I've always I'm a huge fan of the Rocky franchise, right? Like the way like some people are about Star Wars or about, Star Trek or any other genre of movie or film. For me, the Rocky movies have always been very close to my heart, man. Because here's the thing. I don't believe there's one bad Rocky movie, man. Even 5, which was questionable, I still enjoyed, Rocky and Tommy Gunn. So like I've never not enjoyed a Rocky film. So I feel like the Creed franchise has been very good at successfully kind of taking on that mantle and carrying on. And what I like about this movie, ironically, is the fact that Sylvester Stallone isn't in the film. I like the fact that Rocky isn't there because it gives the film a chance to kind of be its own thing. And while at the same time still paying homage to Rocky and Apollo Creed and all those guys, I'd be honest with you. I love the fact that they brought young Drago back in this film because it's like a continuation of the lineage. You know what I mean? Like they're carrying on the new generation of those fighters. And what's funny? When I see a movie, man, I need a day to process, right? Like I don't like to give a review right after I see a movie because I feel like there's too many things going on. I like to kind of sleep on it. And then when I wake up, then I know how I feel about the film, right? And when I woke up this morning, I liked the film even more this morning when I woke up than when I saw it last night because of all the things that I felt like it hit on, right? I felt like there were no caricatures in this movie. Everybody was a real character, man, right? Everyone had real motivations. Even Jonathan Majors' character, who's supposed to be the villain, he's not really... it's not black and white, man. I mean, he's a three-dimensional character, right? So this movie just kind of hit on all the, and believe me, I've seen all the Clubber Lang, references when it comes to him and to his character. And Clubber Lang's one of my favorite of the Rocky villains, man. Like Mr. T was just over the top crazy, and I loved it. But he was not Clubber Lang at all. Jonathan Majors, I mean, he was not Clubber Lang. He was his own character. And I really love the fact that, and if you're a boxing fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about with this. It was this essence of Mike Tyson all over Jonathan Majors in that character, man. I like when he has his first fight and he's wearing that sleeveless hoodie. That was just pure Mike Tyson. It just felt so good seeing that. And Jonathan Majors really, man, his charisma, his like he felt like a threat through the whole film. Like honestly, I thought they were going to go the route of him killing a guy, right, in the ring. Like I really thought that was going to happen because of the way he was coming at, the way he fought. You know what I mean? I really like this movie, man. I think I love the stuff with him and his daughter. I thought those moments were genuine, right? They didn't feel forced. They didn't feel artificial. Like they felt very genuine moments with him and his daughter, him and his wife, right? Him and his wife was a very supportive woman without being overbearing, without being the strong black woman who has to lead the family. It's like, no, she's just a supportive wife, right? Who's giving him his room to handle his shit and to figure out what's going on with himself,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
mean,
I
she
feel
was
like
pivotal in his character arc.
yeah,
Especially
but
at the end. Yeah,
yeah, but in the right way, in the
yeah.
supportive wife kind of way. And I think for Michael B. Jordan, for this to be his first movie that he directed, I feel like he knocked it out the park.
Yeah, I definitely would agree, especially with the fight scenes. It might be that final fight scene. I mean, look, we saw it in IMAX, and I was maybe I was a little too close to it, but like it looked like they had to shoot some of that stuff in a stadium. It was crazy. It would have looked too fake.
No, it looks so green screen.
It
There
did.
were times that it did look green screen, and then there were times it looked real. It was kind of hard to tell sometimes, but then there was times where I saw it.
I mean, I did not get the connection, or I did not feel like it anyway that they were actually in Dodger Stadium, even though the background looked exactly like Dodger Stadium. I mean, I've been there many times, and it just felt green screen. And look, I get it. To shoot that in a stadium full of people is almost impossible
During COVID too, right? Because they shot this during
maybe.
Oh, really? Wow.
But I will say there's a sequence in that final battle, that final fight, that is an artistic choice, and I don't personally think it worked. It just kind of threw me out of the movie. I get what they were going for. It reminds me of, if you watch Oklahoma or the old Rodgers and Hammerstein movies, there's that ballet sequence in the middle of it. That's what.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I do agree with you on that. Like there were times where I was like, I think it's a cool artistic choice, but it felt wrong for the movie.
Yeah. Other than that, it was a great movie, and I'm not gonna penalize it a lot for that, but I you appreciate the fact that Michael B. Jordan, I'm pretty sure it was in the script, so that the Kuglers were behind this idea and thought in their minds that this would work. I just don't feel like it did.
All right. Well, Alan, what are your thoughts? Like first impressions, and then we'll get into what you thought. We'll go into like what we thought. What are some of the problems? But the chat is on fire right now, so we'll also get to your chat comments here. But Alan,
so I won't speak to the fighting. It's great. It's the signature of the series, and it's great. So I saw it Monday at the fan screening. And before it, this TikTok guy I follow, who's really good, he was doing the red carpet, and it was interesting because he interviewed most of the cast and some of the supportings, and for the most part, diversity, representation, blah blah blah. But when he actually talked to Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, the two of them, all they did was talk about story. Like he asked Jonathan Majors about, your character has been in jail. He compared him to Kang because it's about time, and it's about, black man being in prison for all this time and like that. And he goes, what was your feeling about that kind of a character and or that this idea of time? And Jonathan Majors, he says, it's all about stakes. This is the stakes of the movie, and this is the stakes for that character, and these are cinematic stakes. And the reason I bring this up, because when he interviewed Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, they talked about story. That was the prime thing here, and to me, story is what makes this movie. Adonis Creed, he's the world champion, and yet in this movie, they still made him look like the underdog. That he was going to lose. Jonathan Majors was an imposing figure in this movie, and there was always doubt in your mind that Creed could beat this guy, and that's, to me, that is all story. And then you look at the dynamic between the two, and the fact that they were friends, and that Damien went to jail for something that Adonis did. It's like, those are the stakes. This is what this movie is about. And it was resolved in the ring. And then there's a moment afterwards that's a little bit sappy, but it was like, oh my God, this works. I mentioned black oppression and all that stuff as a joke, but to portray African Americans in LA in a way that honors them and honors their struggle, and also you have a hearing impaired, a deaf child brought into the situation, and it's played as integral to the story, not made into a big deal, and absolutely works. It's kind of like what you wish woke movies were like. And I fear using the word woke. These are liberal ideas, and it was just handled so well and handled so respectfully, and honor to the actors, the culture, and everything. So yeah, this is a great movie to see if you are a fan of the Creed franchise. It's definitely up there with the first one.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything particularly woke about
No,
it.
there absolutely wasn't.
No, there was
It was
nothing
just
woke.
a story with characters you can relate to because of the circumstances, just like and the high drama of the relationship between the two childhood friends. There is a moment, like, I don't know if this is what you're talking about earlier, like when they're in the ring and they see themselves as their younger selves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought that was great. I thought that, because, and also like when the crowd kind of went away and they were just focused on themselves, the crowd was there and then the crowd went away. Like, it's like they're so focused on what's in the ring. You're seeing the fight how they see it in their heads,
Mhm.
right? Like, I thought all those little touches were really good. Coming
Yeah.
from Michael B. Jordan. I mean, it remains to be seen. Can he do a movie where there's no boxing? That would be interesting. I'm sure he
Can
can
he do a
carefully
movie where
do
there's
it.
no IP behind it? Can
Right.
he tell an original story? And that'll be the big challenge.
And then someone was saying, and we'll get to your chat comments and questions in a moment, but that Michael B. Jordan's a huge anime fan. And
Yeah.
there's all these anime references. Okay, I didn't see them. Like, there was like
It was a lot. It was a lot in the fighting that you've seen in anime. Like, if you watch anime, you understand. You know some of the moves.
Yeah.
And
by the way, during the red carpet interview, that was discussed. Michael B. Jordan is a big anime fan.
What did he say?
Well, the interviewer is also an anime fan. Straw Hat Goofy, if you know who he is. And they were just kind of like, I saw all those anime references. Yeah, and he kind of in a way said, "Yeah, I did it for you, dude." And,
but that's cool. I mean, look, all directors have some influences. That's why they want to become directors, kind of, little nods to things that they love. So, that's cool that he worked it in. I was thinking more like, is there Pokemon in the background? And I didn't see that.
I will say that there is, and I don't know if this is heading into spoilers or not, but it's kind of general. Someone made a point that in that fight, let's just say, like, by the time the fight ended, those guys should have been way more tired than they were. Kind of
Right? Yeah.
Because and I'll agree with that, because as I'm watching it, that stamina level for that round of fighting seemed a little, and that was the only part that seemed a little off for me, was the fact that these guys were still able to compete at that level during that round, right? Because if you look at any of the Rocky movies, man, like during those last couple of rounds, the Rocky and whoever he's fighting, they look tired. They, like, if you watch the first Rocky 2, right? Apollo and Rocky, they could barely swing their arms, right? Like, that was some realistic stuff, right? Because, I mean, as a fighter who's fighting 15 rounds, by the time you're by the 8th round, man, you're gassed, dude. By the time the 6th round comes, you're gassed, right? So I love the fact that in those Rocky movies, the swings looked labored. They looked like those guys were tired, like they could have just fell out at any time. And I felt like there should have been a little bit more of that in that final fight with Creed and Damien.
Yeah, well, wait till you see John Wick 4.
Okay,
but I will say what I liked about this one was that the fight ended not in that way, but it ended in a different way. And the final blows, I would say that. And I think that speaks a little bit to what you're saying, which I liked. I like that ending, the way the fight ended.
Yeah, well, it just, when you see the progression of the Rocky films and then up to where we are now, it's all been technological advances. You watch the fight in the first Rocky movie now, it almost seems kind of slow. But that's how, if you actually watch real fighting, real boxing.
Yeah, that's real boxing.
It's real boxing is they're sort of waiting for their moment. A lot of it is not about punches, but about like avoiding being punched. And then when they connect, it's like exciting, right? Like,
Yeah.
they connected with a punch and then it can, knock somebody out. So I often watch the UFC fights and stuff, and it's like that. It's sort of a slow thing because you see they're kind of waiting for their moment, and it's more defense than offense, which can come off as boring, but
for a movie that's boring. Yeah, like you need action. If you're gonna have a movie about boxing, they can't just be hugging or waiting for a shot. Like they have to be swinging, and which is fine. Like we go into it knowing this.
Yeah. But also that I think that also is influenced by the dream sequence, we'll call it. And and I think that's why I'm not a big fan of it, because it did kind of monkey around with the timeline. I think I just canceled myself. It did affect the timeline in terms of fatigue and everything, and
No, it did. Look, that didn't bug me. Like, I look, this is a movie. This isn't an actual boxing event. But what's weird is that they played the drama scenes very realistic. If you go back and watch the first few Rocky movies, at least the first two, it feels like an independent film. It's
they're dramas, man. They're not action movies.
They're slow dramas. I mean, Rocky's sort of a dimwit in the first and second movies, kind of like he's not the brightest bulb in the bunch. He's this low-level thug. He has these two pet turtles. He basically has a crush on this girl who's super shy. You see his routine and rituals and kind of how he keeps motivated in his life, but it's a quiet, small indie movie, very much rooted in the kinds of American movies of the 70s.
Yeah.
And then Rocky 2 is effectively a remake of the first one, except in the second one he wins instead of losing.
Well, I won't say it's a remake. I think it's just a continuation of that story.
Right. But just
because he goes through a lot of different things in the second movie than he did in the first movie, I think.
Right. It's not so much a remake as a rematch, right? It's like leading to the same place. They fight again, but he wins. And then the third one, which I love that movie, it was very influenced, with Mr. T, Clubber Lang. Rocky 3 was very, very influenced by music videos. Remember Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah.
That song played forever on the radio, on MTV. This was when MTV played music videos. Music videos were where they took a song and they would either perform it or film some little mini story. Does anyone remember those music videos?
A long time ago.
And when did they play it? Did they play it between the reality shows? Or was there like a special hour?
They played hours and hours of music videos. Sometimes they would do blocks of certain types of music.
It was 24 hours.
Oh, MTV back in the day was great. I wish I could just watch like old.
Yeah, didn't it stand for music television?
Yeah, it was music television. A lot of people don't know MTV Music Television, IFC, Independent Film Channel. They don't even use that anymore. But anyways, no, but like the third Rocky movie, that movie was, the popularity of that film was insane.
Yeah, to this day, it's still my favorite Rocky movie. Like 3 is my favorite.
Because it's got not just that great song, it's the Clubber Lang was a villain.
Yeah.
Okay. He was just a straight up villain. And his whole look with the mohawk, I mean, I love that. And also Mr. T, if you know of him in real life, I mean, he's just like, I think he's just an inspiring figure, an inspiring person.
Oh, and the nicest guy in the world. Just the nicest guy in the world, yeah.
I mean, they had the cartoon. There was Mr. T's cereal.
I remember
he
that.
was a phenomenon. And God, like just everything about him as a person when you see anything about him. I love it. Yeah, like that was huge. And then Rocky 4 with Ivan Drago, the stakes with that, with this, like it's sort of the height 80s, like patriotism, pitting America against Russia was awesome. So, and then Rocky 5 went way more realistic, like back to sort of indie film roots. So all real interesting stuff. Was that your dog, Alan?
Yeah. She's just staring at me.
Well,
I just think that Creed you know, in this movie was able to kind of breathe on its own, and I do like that because you know you have the lineage of Rocky, but it's kind of like passing of the torch now. You know what I mean? Where now you have these younger guys, and it's a very natural progression. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fake. It was, you know, we got 2 Creed movies with Rocky, you know, and training him. And I didn't even think Rocky needed to be in this film because of the fact in the last movie, you know, he had cancer and the whole deal. So it's kind of like it was kind of cool just to let Rocky, you know, retire off into the sunset and let the Creed story continue.
Yeah, okay, so we should address that. Oh, by the way, Alan's review of Creed 3 is actually on filmthreat.com right now. You have to scroll through it though. It's a little thing you can kind of see what other movies we're covering. I don't even know what this movie is. Scrap? What is Scrap, Alan? Passenger
drama from playing at Cinequest right now.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, here's your Creed 3 review, which is, but we should address this because I've heard some people complain, no Sly, I'm not going to see it. I hate even saying this. You kind of don't miss him, you know?
You really don't, man.
And I love Sylvester Stallone. Okay. I met him one time, and he knows when you're standing there, you want a picture with me, don't you? Yes. Okay. And he does the same pose. Look it up. Look up Google Images, Sylvester Stallone, you know, selfie photos, whatever. He always goes like this. He gives it because he knows you don't even have to ask. He just does the fist, but he's the nicest guy. I'll take a picture with you. Sure. And he does them because he knows that's what you want. And
did Creed 2 take place in Philadelphia?
I think so.
Well, and the reason I bring it up is Creed 3, it's an LA film. It's an LA film.
Oh, absolutely. It's a love letter to LA.
Yeah.
But Alan gives it an 8.5 out of 10. That's you know,
that's fair.
I probably didn't like it as much, but I respect that, Alan. I respect it.
No, like I said, story to me, story is everything, and story is the heart of this movie, and the boxing tells that story.
No, I would agree. I think, but the Sylvester Stallone thing, and I liked it was like, see, to me, it was a respectful handoff. Look at the first Creed, the drama, the stakes in that, you know, Adonis trying to make a name for himself.
Yeah.
And you know, Rocky coming in, it's the role that maybe he should have gotten to sooner, because after Rocky 4, you're like, how many times can he just like take a pummeling? You know, boxing careers don't last that long. They just, frankly, in the real world, they don't. It's rare, but like, you know, I felt like it was like a respectful, like the legacy hand. It just worked. And he's mentioned in the movie. He is mentioned in a line in the movie, but I don't know. I feel bad saying it, but I didn't miss that he wasn't there. It seemed like the logical thing to kind of just step into that. I mean, maybe he could have had one cameo scene or whatever, but I know that there's like a isn't there some legal bout with him and the brand? Isn't that what's going on? Like Sylvester Stallone owns Rocky, but he doesn't. Like he got like the producers kind of cheated him out. So yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but you know, I think it was a wise decision not to have him in it.
Yeah,
because you just can't keep stringing the guy along. As much as I love Sylvester Stallone and Rocky, this is a Creed movie, and I think it needs to be a Creed movie.
No,
well, it made sense for Rocky to be in the first movie, especially, and in the second movie. If you're bringing Drago, you have to have Rocky. So I get that, but this movie didn't need him in it.
Yeah. The other thing is, if you keep bringing him in, at some point they're gonna have to kill him.
Right.
And do you want that? Do you want that?